Hey everybody, welcome to Ref Time, powered by RTS and produced by Coraggio Media. I'm Tanya.
And I'm Crane. We'll be covering rules, plays, points of emphasis, and all things official. All right, so welcome back to another segment. Miss Gabrielle Ginder, the great Gab in the house. Gabby, Gabriella. How you doing, Gabrielle?
I'm doing great.
I called her Gabriella, didn't I?
You did.
You did.
Yes.
I messed with myself. Sorry about that.
I'll take that over the Gabby.
Gabrielle Ginder, welcome.
Yay, thank you. Leave it to Tanya to get it right.
I said it earlier. It was just mixed in with some other ones. But we've been trying to get you on for a while. Your schedule's been crazy.
It is crazy,
Yeah.
but thanks for having me. This is fun to kind of go down
we couldn't
memory
wait.
lane,
Yes.
and it's
Awesome.
going to be good.
We
Yeah.
couldn't wait because, and I guess the first question we have for you is, you're an ex-official. Do you still consider?
Retired official.
Thank you.
Well, I was going to ask, do you still
Former.
consider yourself to be an official at heart?
Oh yeah, I can call really well from the stands, like the fans could when I was repping.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I think we still have a lot of those that can
Yeah.
call very well from the stands.
It is such a good view.
It is.
It is,
It
and it's so convenient, isn't it?
I do get frustrated when refs make bad calls, though. I'm like, seriously, what were you looking at?
Now, we
Right.
got to take you back in time. A bad call is, got to keep it in perspective, because if you were on the floor, would it be a bad call?
Oh yeah, I had some bad ones.
Did you? I
Did
thought
you
those were your
never?
partners. That wasn't you, was it?
Only
So-
when I was with you.
Oh.
She never ref
Kidding.
with me, so that doesn't. So tell us, what got you into officiating? The years you were doing it,
Yeah.
why you did it?
Actually, so we have 4 children, my husband and I, and when the I started to just get really busy, and he was a baseball coach. He coached at Northrop, and I was
Oh.
like, so then his schedule was way late into the evenings.
Mhm.
I was like, I need something to garner some sanity after being with 4 kids all day long.
Yeah.
So my husband said, well, why don't you try officiating? You love basketball. And so I did, and just fell in love with it, and had never thought of doing it before. But
Yeah.
I'd played in high school and sat on the bench for a little bit, so in college.
So
yeah.
what years did you officiate?
Oh
then?
gosh, I ended in 98. It's 12 years, so like 86 to 98.
So you did it for 12
I
years.
did.
Wow.
I did. Yeah.
That was the only sport, basketball?
That was it. Yeah.
Now, you said something key, because we hear it from all the people. Everybody, including us, says, man, I wish I had started earlier.
Yeah, I don't think I had the time. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
because
Yeah.
I was
Especially with 4 kids.
with 4 kids,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and so I didn't even think about it really.
Yeah.
So
Did you take your kids with you when you went to officiate? games?
usually passed them off to my husband on the baseball diamond.
Okay. Yeah.
And he left one of them in the dugout once. So like we had, that was all pre-cell phones.
He forgot one in the dugout.
Infant in an infant carrier in the dugout at Northrop High School.
How
And he drove
long?
home. Oh, he got about 10 miles, and then the other kids were like, "Where's Malik? Where's the baby?"
You talk about Home Alone.
Ooh. I think I would have killed him.
He lived through that process.
He did,
with
and
you.
because I learned about it afterwards.
Of
Like if
course.
he had showed up and I was home, and he showed up without a kid, it would have been bad.
Wow. So that Home Alone movie is real.
So wait a minute. The kids were in the car with him.
Yeah,
And
They
they all-
get home. None of them thought about where the baby was.
they were like 4, 3, 1, and then the newborn. So that was kind of
That's kind of hilarious.
Ooh, that's close.
That seriously reminds me of that movie. All of a sudden, they're riding home.
Like,
McDonald's, Daddy, where's the baby?
Exactly, exactly.
That's hilarious. So when you got involved, one of the questions that's running through my mind is how many females, you and I have talked about this
Yeah.
off camera, so how many females were involved back then?
Oh gosh, around here in Allen County, like myself and really one other person. There was another woman who was on her way out. I don't remember her name.
Okay.
So Susan Brooks and I became referee partners, and we were kind of in demand because there weren't a lot of women doing women's games, and so coaches appreciated that we were a good role model back then.
Oh, wow.
So we traveled we did some crazy travel for silly stuff, but it was just a lot of fun. It was so much fun.
So how far did you travel?
Oh gosh, we went down as far south as Evansville.
wow.
Yeah,
That is a
and
ways.
yeah.
What
Yeah.
were they-
I think
what-
the furthest I've gone is to Twin Lakes, which is down in Muncie.
Yeah.
So-
no, we
No, The furthest we've been is to
Hawaii.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
they really needed you there, didn't
They
they?
needed us
They
there.
did.
And
Somebody
let
had
me
to
tell
do
you,
it.
let me
No,
tell
seriously,
you,
they
it was
did.
awesome.
No, because the
Yes.
guy said it's a fundraiser, and so it was really funny because I'm talking to the guy that put it on, and he goes, "Well, it's kind of a fundraiser, and we're glad you guys came in." And I'm thinking, yeah, right. He goes, "No, really." He said, because when you think about it, we have 5 or 6 islands out here. He said everybody knows everybody, so everybody knows the referees. So when
that
we're
makes
doing a
sense.
game, when we're doing a tournament like this, and they brought in 7 teams from the mainland, from the
And
states.
these were like top elite
teams in
wow.
the states to play
Uh-huh.
against these kids in Hawaii. And the kids in Hawaii were loving it, and the coaches were loving it. It was like, we don't get this.
Yeah.
You know, we have 5 islands, X amount of schools, which is tiny,
Right.
and the same referees we see all the time.
which would bounce around from island to island.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, it was really
Oh, that
well
is
received.
awesome.
Yeah.
That is good.
Yeah,
That
we were
is
out there
really
for a
good.
week, 2 games a day. Loved it.
Yeah. Do it again.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. We've
That's
actually put a
awesome.
call into him. We're like, hey, let's get this back on the schedule.
Oh,
here,
that would
so.
be
Yeah,
awesome.
but then he
That's
told us,
great.
well, COVID killed the tournament.
Oh, I believe
So
that.
yeah, he's
I-
back in the States
I
now.
believe that.
Well,
Okay.
dude, you got to go back over there and get it going again.
Yeah.
So quick
Yep.
question. Did you have any specific like career highlights that you can think of? Anything that's kind of stands out?
Great question.
So I did a semi-state at Connorsville, and that was packed. So that was
Yeah.
a ton. That was a ton of
that'd
fun.
be awesome.
Yeah.
It was amazing. There
Yeah.
were 8,000, something crazy like that.
Oh yeah.
It was really good. And then, as you guys know, I think I refereed. I was pregnant, and I did a semi-state, and 8 days later, the baby was born.
Check you out.
Yeah. So like a week before, I don't know if you remember Pat Roy. She was the
I remember that name.
she was the IHSAA
Yeah.
referee official.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And I'm at home one day, and I had just finished the regional, and phone rings, and I answer it. I'm like, "Hello." She's like, "Gabrielle, this is Pat Roy. Are you pregnant?" I was like, "Yes." And she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" I'm like, "My doctor says I'm fine. I'm at the doctor all the time."
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, "Okay, well, now I have to give you a semi-state because I can't not give it to you because you're pregnant." And she hung up.
Oh wow.
So I got another semi-state. I don't know. I think I would have
Wow.
anyway, but yeah. So I did a semi-state, and the baby was born 8 days later, and so
So-
that was always weird walking into a gym. Because my partner and I, we would like have this little comedy routine just to put everybody at ease about, my partner would say, "Well, the 3 of us are here today to officiate for you. We've got extra eyes
So
on
you
the
guys were
court."
doing 3-person before
Yeah.
3-person was even.
That's I like that.
Exactly.
Nice.
So you could actually say you brought 3-person to
There
high
we
school
go.
basketball.
I had never said that before. You
There
are
you
way
go,
to go. I like
Bam.
it.
I knew we had somebody famous
Thank
on,
you.
but I didn't realize how famous.
That's right.
I never received that much credit.
Now that's interesting because I'm listening to you. I'm going. I'm just keeping it real. First thing went through my mind is politics existed back then.
Politics exists
Oh
today.
my gosh, I didn't know it existed back then.
Oh yeah.
Crazy.
Come on now.
Right? Yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy back then, and we talked a little bit before. I think it's still there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
It is.
It
It's
is.
a little bit
And I
bummer.
brought up the gender issue because that's been a big thing with us. Is how many female officials are there in this region of the state, not even the whole state, that are doing. And I got to go there.
Go ahead.
Boys varsity game, because you told me you never did a boy. You didn't.
I
do
did
boys.
do a boys. I did. I'm not going to remember his name. He coached at Snyder. I did one Snyder boys game, and then I did one in Ohio, right over the border in Ohio, and it was fine. But I mean, I had so many people wanting us to do women's, so that it didn't feel like an issue back then.
Yeah.
Do you think it is now? Are there women doing boys high school basketball?
In this region?
Yeah,
No.
not at all.
But
You
down
say it's
in
not an issue?
no, they're not
Th-
doing
they're
it.
not doing it.
Oh, I thought she said,
no.
is it an issue?
No, there are no women doing boys varsity in this region. Now I can go outside of Fort Wayne
And see.
and I can get a boys varsity, and there are down in Indianapolis. There's a ton of women doing boys varsity, girls varsities, but in this particular region, it's an issue.
So you know what's funny is like sometimes I go to games now with nieces and nephews playing, and it's some of the same people that were officiating when I did. I ended in '98. That's a long time ago.
So
Yeah.
we're talking better than 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why isn't there more? isn't there more movement, and why aren't there more women doing it? You see women doing college ball. I watched college ball yesterday.
Right.
There
You
were
see women doing pro.
You got women doing the G League.
Yeah.
You got women doing the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a great question. That's one we've been asking in the area quite a bit.
And we're not getting an answer. We're not getting responses to.
Well, we're not getting intelligent responses. I'll put it that way. I think, and I know one of our leaders in the area, he hates to hear the term good old boy system. But a lot of people who are not included in certain circles feel that's exactly what it is. Now, how do you break through that? That's the age-old question.
Are you still active? When I was doing it, there was like a Fort Wayne Association, and we had to go to weekly meetings or stuff like that.
It's called the NEIAOA now, stands for
Northeast
Indiana Athletic Officials Association.
Okay.
So it's a long title. And the only reason I memorized it because I happened to be on the board for about 3 years. And I asked those pertinent questions, and I just wasn't getting honest, what I want to say, quality answers, whereas people were focusing on it. It's more of most folks wanted to just brush it under the rug and ignore it and act like it didn't exist. I don't think everybody wants to alienate certain groups, but I think that those groups have been alienated for so long. The people that don't want to, it's easier to just go with the current.
For sure. And if it's a male dominated, they're not looking through the eyes of females. How come we're not represented?
Correct.
Right.
It doesn't mean it's okay, but that is sometimes the reason for their perspective.
And I'll keep it real with you, Gabrielle, that I think the reason that I can see it so clearly is because I referee with two women. My main partner is Tanya. We officiate a lot. We've been officiating for years together. Then our daughter got into it 5 years ago, and she, by the way, is skipping high school and college. She don't want to be bothered with any of the politics. She hears us talking
She does
all the
rep
time,
varsity games with us,
but only with
other
us.
games.
She won't do them with anybody else
Yeah.
because she understands, Dad, Mom, I don't even want to mess with that.
She just doesn't want to get locked in that.
Right.
In
She
that
doesn't want to
system.
get seen as one way, so she won't even touch it. But my education, and I tell guys this all the time, has been working with females. I hear their perspective all the time. So when you hear it over and over and over again, you begin to see it from a different perspective. And I'm going, okay, now I understand. And I just ask assigners, and we have assigners. We'll talk about that because you didn't have those back in the day. And I ask them straight out, how come these females aren't getting boys varsities? Oh, well, they aren't. They're good enough, right? Why aren't they? Let me look into that. And I've been getting that answer for the last 4 or 5 years. Let me look into it. Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
How many boy varsities do you have this year, Tanya?
You and I have one Saturday night, and that's out of town. I think we have one over Christmas break out of town. And
you have maybe 3?
Might have one more. So I know I have 2.
So you may have 3 or 4.
I might have 3.
And it requires how many to get into the tournament?
10. Oh, as a matter of fact, you're right. I only have 2. Those 2, because I was adding them up the other day. I was like, oh, I need 8 to get into the boys varsity. So I can't even apply for boys varsity because I don't have enough games.
Now, one question I have for you ladies. When you reffed, and you're reffing now, is that something that you request or requested?
Work
do
boys.
boys
I
varsity.
have requested to work boys varsities.
Okay.
Well, again,
You didn't need
and
to.
we didn't need to. And honestly, we felt like, Susan and I felt like we were paving the way for more women, let alone women in men's games. And we was just getting women in women's games.
Period. Yeah.
Because we would show up at a gym. I don't know if you get this. You show up at a gym and they're like, oh, you're a woman.
Right.
Here's a closet you can dress in.
Right.
Yes.
And the guys have
I
like
do
the full
still-
locker room.
I do still have that.
Yeah.
And they have all of the drinks and the towels and the snacks are all in their room, and you get, oh, well, here, let me throw you in here. Yes. And I'm like, but now, and even back then, they had paper contracts, so it's not like they couldn't see who they had.
Yeah.
No,
But
no, there was a misspelling. I thought it was Tony.
Right. So now
I
they
thought it was Gabriel.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That-
good point.
yeah.
You got that a lot?
Oh, yeah.
They mistook you for Gabriel?
Yeah.
I've thought about changing my
Yeah.
name to Tony and thinking maybe that would help me get boys varsities.
It's not a bad idea.
I mean,
It's not a bad
You
idea.
know me. I want to experiment.
but
They would tell me you can shower after the guys have showered and left.
Wow.
Right.
So I'm like,
Right.
I'm like there were nights from like a varsity basketball game I would go home in my uniform because I didn't like have any shower or anything.
Yeah. And it is still that way. They're better. The college levels much better.
Good.
There's a lot more females that do college.
There are a lot more
us.
officials, that do college. But at the high school level, like just the other night, I've been on the game. It wasn't like I was just assigned the game. My name had been there, and yet they were like, "Oh, well, there's the locker room." I'm like, "Yeah, that's where the men are dressing. I don't dress with men."
And they hadn't even thought about it. The guy looked at her like, it didn't even cross my mind. Yeah. And he's looking and talking to a female.
But to his defense, he was not the AD. You know, they were going through some changes at their school. So I'll give him a little bit of leeway, but
we often got put into you could go in the coach's office in the locker room where the team is.
Yes.
Right. I'm like, I'm not going in where a team is.
Right.
We don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
Yeah.
But I will say this: when I got started almost 30 years ago, we had a lot of that too.
Yes.
We would have to go into the locker room, which was attached to where the players were.
Yeah.
I think that's just schools
facilities.
They're just not accommodating to officials.
Yes.
And I think they're starting to pay attention to that more. I think they started to pay attention to that more within the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because some schools are rebuilding now, and they're actually building rooms for officials.
Right.
And the thing with females, they never really had to worry about female officials.
Mm-hmm.
Now that females are coming onto the scene, they have to take that into account.
I did a couple times want to say, well, why don't you put the guys in the closet and we'll take the locker?
Right. But see how that went over.
But I was not that smart or brave.
Well, I think a lot of us just don't want to rock the boat because we're there to do a job.
Yeah, and then you were doing your own contracts, so you wanted to be liked, you wanted to not be blacklisted, you wanted them to invite you back. Right.
Now let's talk about that, the contract stuff, because I was talking to another official the other night. What's interesting is now we have mostly assigners. There's a few schools that still do their own assigning, the ADs, but very few. And now it's like you said, we could get contracts. I remember I had a contract that I broke one time, and I got that
because
contract.
it was so far out.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 5 years.
I believe it.
And I had moved 3 times and lost the contract. That's a long story. But anyway, now we have assigners, and a lot of people. A lot of officials I found out recently after asking questions, they don't like assigners. They've told me. I'm talking about some of the officials you see on the court a lot. One surprised me the other night. I said, well, you don't like assigners? He goes, no, I really don't. And we were just talking, the 3 of us before the game. He says, main reason is because I used to do all these schools that I set up, had a relationship with the ADs. Then the assigners come on the scene. They turn over all their games, and I had a contract 3 years out, and they're not honoring it because the assigner has taken over, and now I haven't been back to that school. And I lost my relationship. The AD is still there. I had a relationship with the coach.
Yep.
He says, I had about 12 schools like that, and my relationship is completely gone.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I find, too, is with the assigners, I can do one school 3 or 4 times in one season and then not see him the next year, period. Or, and it's just like, well, why am I seeing this school so much? I haven't done a Homestead game in years. I haven't had a Carroll High School game in years. Not even a visiting game. Not even at their gym.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them in years.
Yeah.
There are certain schools like I never get to officiate them. And I was talking to one of the coaches one time, and I was like, why don't I ever get any of your games? And he's like, well, I don't know. I'll have to see. I'll have to talk to the assigners about that. And I'm thinking, well, he's like, we'd love to have you out here. I'm like, well, I don't understand.
I think a lot of coaches would like to have certain officials, but it's not in their hands anymore. They used to have a relationship with their ADs, and they could request certain officials.
So not to be like completely negative on the political side of it, but we go to games, and there are guys officiating whose kids go to the school that they're officiating.
Yes.
Correct.
Like I would never, like
You'd
we lived
avoid
in the
that.
Carroll district. I didn't,
Right.
even though I was unknown at the time, we didn't
Right.
Right.
When our son was at Snyder, we wouldn't do Snyder
I
games.
wouldn't do it.
For
Because
sure.
that is a
It's
blatant.
unethical.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
a
then-
conflict of interest.
Right.
Yeah.
So then do the guys who are like, their kids are at that school, are they friends with the assigner, or could be women too? And that makes it a little bit,
Those kind of
little bit
questions is
crazy.
exactly why you and I wouldn't do those schools.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's because we didn't want people asking those questions.
right. It
But
seems,
but you know, the thing is, I think the three of us, we got trained by old school
yes.
quality officials
Mm-hmm.
who were concerned about ethics and morals as well as legalities.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays with the assigner situation, I don't think those issues are as important.
Right.
Not that any of them are breaking those
Right.
rules. I just don't think that's the focus as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think now, especially nowadays, and we'll go into this topic too, just getting bodies to cover the games.
It's hard.
The numbers are so low right now.
Well, and and that's one of the things that we talk about on a regular basis, the need for officials. Well, why do we need officials? Well, I mean, there's so many reasons that we need officials. People don't want to get involved because of, crowds. You got parents and grandparents out of control. You
Right.
got coaches acting any way they want to, which in turn has the players acting any way they want to. And, it's becoming more of a physically violent, where people were threatening, and it's like, this is supposed to be a fun game. It's a game. It's supposed to be enjoyable, and people are coming out here like their third grade kid is the next LeBron James.
Right. It's crazy. It is great. And that even started, I did a 2A regional up in Maconaquah.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, Bishop Luers was one of the schools there, because we had known the coach and the AD had established that relationship, Crane, that you were talking about. And it was so bad. It was like a 30-40 point game. It wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
The coach came after my partner. The police were there. We ended the game with 4 minutes to go in the last quarter. It was that bad. And then Bishop Luers kind of created this wall for us to leave. And it, again, not a close game, but the place was so, I've never been in an environment that was that angry. And again, if it were a 2-point game, maybe some of it, but this was like 35, 38 points.
Right.
It was crazy.
If people would look at the intent of interscholastic sports, and that is one word people have disassociated with high school basketball. It's interscholastic sports.
Scholastic.
Yeah.
It's associated
supposed to
with
be
education.
Educational.
And sports, when it was started, and IHS got involved later on, it was intended to be an additional educational piece.
Right.
That's what it was intended to be. People have forgotten that. But, it kind of trickles down from professionalism. I mean, professional sports.
Yeah.
And we tell people all the time when they come to our training class, don't even talk about the NBA. And
This
they do
is
that
not
all the
the
time.
NBA.
And they look at me and go, yeah, but no, stop with the yeah, but. Let me help you understand something. NBA is not truly basketball. And they'll look at me and go, what? I said, no. Think about it. When you go to an NBA game, if you bought $50 seats and you're up in the nosebleeds, the last thing you want to see is an official down there blowing a whistle on LeBron James who took one too many steps.
Right.
And they go, well, yeah, that's entertainment. That's kind of entertainment, basketball together.
Mostly entertainment.
It's true.
Because it's affiliated with
It's
a lot of
true.
money.
Yeah.
I said, so that's a completely different level of officiating, and it's not done that way on this level. And they go, yeah, I guess I never thought of it like that. Right. As officials, we know that's the way it is. They get paid a lot of money because they make a lot of money.
Right, for sure. And I think, Tanya, you also, in addition to that, you hit the nail on the head with parents, and my kid's going to be, nobody has a clue. Like, there's not a kid right now in Fort Wayne who's, you just don't, it's crazy.
You just don't know. And there's so many kids, and there's so few positions.
Yes.
You're probably not going to make it.
Right. And then we expect you to play that one sport year round, which is another crazy piece, right? Because that's not fair.
Right.
Yeah, people don't want to hear the numbers, but if you look at the number of kids who play elementary basketball, and then the number of kids who might play middle school basketball, and then
You're going out this way. You're going the wrong way.
I'm going the right way.
Elementary.
No, elementary, then maybe middle school.
Okay, we go out here for middle
and
school.
then high school. And then college. And then, I'm not going to say that. I shouldn't clap, shut up. But
You don't clap.
Pro. Yeah, ignore that clap, Adam. But yeah, the pro level is so minutely small, and people think that their kids have a chance.
Even D1 is super,
yeah.
super small,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah, because I played NAIA, and my son played D1, and I'm looking at the level I played at and the level he played. My arms aren't that long.
right.
It's a completely different
It is
world.
completely different.
But that's just what people have locked in. And how long is it going to take us to change that? Well, that's part of the mission, if you will, of RTS, Referee Training School, is to help people first, if they're interested in, learn how to think like a sports official, because we do basketball and volleyball.
Right.
How to get games, how to perform when you're in the position, communication skills, obviously signals and mechanics.
For sure.
Movement, where to be, anticipation, watching game film. We teach all of that.
That's awesome.
Because that's what basketball, that's what officiating is all about.
It
But
is.
a lot of people go to the internet, which they can do. They go to the internet, take the test. Then they come, it's funny, they'll come up to us at a Speaks or a Sport One. Hey, Tanya Crane, I heard you guys got a school for referees. Yeah. I just got my license, and I was over here doing the game. Yeah, I watched you. Oh, yeah, what'd you think? I watched you. And I could use some help. Can you help me? And I'm looking at them going,
That's what the school's for.
that's what the class is all
So
about.
then at that point we tell them, you can go to reftrainingschool.com and get
Awesome.
registered
Good
for
for
our
you.
next class, and we'll help you.
Yeah.
Do you do anything with helping officials how to interact or not interact, or like with coaches and
absolutely.
the professional kind of stuff?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. We talk to them about that. I mean, we've got some paperwork and things that we kind of go over and kind of talk about different situations. How would you handle, a coach talking to you this way? That's one of the first things that I talk about in our pregame, right before we get ready to do a varsity game. We'll bring the coaches together, and I just tell coaches, I'm like, look, let's be respectful out here. Don't yell at me from across the court. I'll rotate around, and then we can have a conversation. But if you're going to yell at me across the court, we're not gonna have a very good time. So
I get in trouble for that, because I've told coaches in a pregame, if I'm there, coaches, wait till we rotate back around, because if you yell at me across the court, I'm telling you, I'm probably going to ignore you. I said, you probably don't want that when you want a timeout. But I'm an old school official. I say stuff like that. I'm like, don't do what I do. But
don't do what he
don't
does.
do what I do.
Just tell him,
But I'm keeping it real.
Just be respectful,
if you're yelling at me, I'm going to tune you out.
Right.
That's better than teching you what you deserve.
Right.
If I tune you out and you're yelling time out, I might think you're yelling 5 out, which is a play you call.
I had a coach the other day. He came, and this was a college game. He comes to the edge of his box. His girl's shooting a free throw, and he says, "Give me one." So I was like, boop. Gave him a timeout. I thought he wanted a timeout.
Right.
He said something one time. He said, "Give me one time," or something like that. And okay, boop. You want a timeout? He's like looking at me. I mean, because I'm like standing right there, like he's in my ear. And he looks at me. He goes, "No, I didn't want a timeout." And I'm like, "But you just said." So I was like, okay. So yeah, that's a little game I think he played, but to kind of throw off,
For sure.
because his girl made the free throw. I was like, okay, yeah. I said, well, don't get in my ear then. He goes, but I'm in my box, bro.
Wow.
So anyway,
wow. Yes. I don't know what to do with that one.
I
So
don't
moving
either.
right
I was
along.
like, buddy.
So I got a different question for you, Gabrielle. Tell us what you do for a living now. You transitioned from officiating. You went into.
I started to work in a church locally in Huntertown, close to where we live. So with the kids being young, and then 12, 15 years ago, I had called to ministry, so I became a pastor.
Ooh.
So now I'm pastor, and currently I'm in the Jackson R. Lehman YMCA.
Okay.
Yep.
And I hang out there during the week, as you
we
know.
We visited your service one
You
time.
did, and then we
And we see you at the Y a few times.
Yeah,
a week,
yeah. So I love it. I'm there. I love the conversations I get to have with people.
Yes.
And we always say that people feel safe walking into the Y, right? And they walk in with a level of vulnerability, right? I got to work out, or I need to put my kids in child watch for a break, or whatever. And so they come in with this freedom of who I am. And so then when they see me there and I'm like, hey, you want to have a conversation or talk or prayer or whatever, they're like all in. So it's just a great way to connect with people.
That is a great fit for you, because
Yeah.
I remember I've seen you so many times at the
I
Y,
know.
and I know you and I have had conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what led to this.
Yes.
But I know a couple of times you was like, well, Crane, what's going on? I'm looking at you like, you ain't my dang
Yeah.
psychologist. Who the hell you doing asking me that? And then but you have
He needs that.
that's another conversation. So, but as
Different
we talk,
podcast.
as we talk though, you have kind of a standoffish way of not making people feel uncomfortable.
For sure. Because,
Yeah.
I mean, the what I love about the Y is that
Mhm.
the Y is for all.
Yes.
So my job is not to try to convert you or get in your space. My job is just to, like, I just get to love you and
Yeah.
like, how are you and how you doing, encourage you in the things that you do. And,
And
then
you've
sometimes
always
it
got-
leads to deeper conversations and sometimes it doesn't.
And you've always got somebody you're talking to. I
I
mean, you're in high
I,
demand.
it's busy, isn't it?
But it really helped me having a conversation with you, because I was talking to you about some family issues
Mhm.
with my child, and that helped. And you gave me a different perspective. I didn't like what you said, but I thought about it. I prayed about it, and I said, okay, I won't dog her. But if she ever says that to me again, no, I didn't say that.
No, because you even you're like, I could tell you didn't like it. You said I don't like it. And the next day you're
did.
like, all right, I was thinking about
I
it.
gave it some thought. I mean, but that's what people need. They need
Just
somebody to
to-
come against them,
Yeah.
not too abrasively, but at
Yeah.
least get them thinking. And you got me
Yeah.
thinking about things I didn't want to think about, Gabrielle.
There we go. Okay,
But-
score one.
But it helped. And
Glad
then
somebody did.
and then she prayed. You offered to pray with me,
Yes,
and I think
yes.
we did pray
We
together.
did.
And that was cool.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, I
Yeah.
think more of the world needs prayer.
I do too. It's funny because, like in church, I'll say, hey, if anyone needs prayer, I'm around,
Mhm.
and like nobody.
Right.
But as in the middle of the lobby at the Y, 5, 10, 20 people a day,
They'll
a
pray.
week, and it's
Yeah.
and it's just to be an encouragement for
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Life has its challenges.
Yes, ma'am.
And we need to be on the same team, and I think we live in
Absolutely.
a culture that's not. So yeah.
So you're calling to be a pastor.
Mhm.
I'm going to ask a dumb question. Is it a better calling or is it a higher calling than refereeing?
No, I don't think so. Actually,
Oh, really? That's a surprising
no,
answer.
I really don't, because I think that like whatever we do, like when you guys are on the court, like you're a role model for
Mhm.
the students, you're a role model for coaches, you're a role model for parents, how you respond.
Mhm.
And I think that there was a time years ago where the role of pastor carried so much more respect or something than it does today. And deservedly so, we have less respect because pastors have done some really dumb things. I think you can.
We all do.
That's
so.
right. So that's the
Yes.
thing. I think you can take anything. You can take
Yes.
officiating, you can take leading a church, and you do it with integrity, and you do it with grace, and you do it with, like, for me as a Christian, God says to love people.
Mhm.
So that's what you do. And I think if we did that in all areas of our life, we'd be in a better place.
Now you got me really thinking. So do you think it's easier for a female pastor to do what you call love people? Because I've most of the pastors I know are males, and they don't talk about loving people. But I hear you say that often.
Yeah, I mean I may not be the smartest person, but you take all of Scripture, they asked Jesus, what's the most important thing, and he said to love
Love.
God and love
Yeah.
others. So that's all I got to do. I don't have to convince you to be something different. I don't have to argue politics with you. I don't have to try to convince you to think like I do. Jesus didn't say that. He said just love people, and then he'll do the work that he needs to do of transformation.
It's hard to
in our
love a
lives.
coach when you got him yelling at you. Though.
Yeah, isn't it? Yeah, it is. I remember
hard.
I wasn't gonna go there.
I did a 2A. I did something. It was a tournament game, and it was 2 small Christian schools, and so they prayed before the game, prayed for
Oh,
coaches,
don't
prayed
you
for
hate
officials,
I love those games.
and then the ball went up.
And they forgot all of that.
They forgot their
Kill
religion.
them. Take their head off.
Yep.
Refs, you suck. Yeah,
That's
Yep.
it.
we've been there,
Believe
done
me,
that.
they still do it. They pray before, and then the next thing you know, that ball goes up, and
And I've gotten questions from people asking me. They say, "Well, when you go do Christian schools, is that better?" And I just look at them and go, Next question.
Yeah, it's like people say working in the church must be really easy. Because
Yeah.
it's all Christians. Like,
No.
Because the reality is we're all people.
Exactly.
We all have stuff. We all are.
As my daddy say, peoples is peoples.
Peoples.
That's your daddy is right.
And the reality is we're all sinners. It doesn't matter whether you're in the church or you're not in the church. You're a sinner.
We make mistakes.
We do.
And the grace of God.
So,
Yep.
and we just need coaches and parents and fans to realize that we are human.
Yeah.
That we do make mistakes, and just
Yes.
because it looks like it from your angle doesn't mean that's what happened from our angle.
Right.
So why do coaches get to question us and we don't get to question them? Gabrielle, you've been around a long time. Tell us that. What's the answer?
When
to
it
that?
came to sectionals and stuff back then, did coaches have a vote?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They had a vote, and then they also were able to put you in a list that they didn't want you.
Correct.
Well, they can still. As for a sectional game or just period.
I think period.
Yeah, because they can
they
still
still do
they can
that?
still do that. They can.
But
But we
it's-
can blackball.
it's
We can black
reversed
them
too.
too. We
Matter
can
of
blackball
fact,
them too.
Really?
I just had a game last week at a local high school, and the three of us, three officials, the one official, we had problems out of the visiting coach.
Okay.
And this week I talked to him. He says, well, we have another game. We were supposed to have another game with them this end of this week.
But I wasn't
Tanya.
with that.
Tanya
I wasn't on
that
that game. But
Okay.
now
But
I.
we're supposed to work with this same official this coming Friday at this at the home gym of this team, and he said I won't work with that school again
And then come to find out, just this morning,
We got moved off
We
that
got moved
game.
off of the game
because
and
the
I'm
coach
like,
probably requested it, which is fine. I don't need to work with them either, but I think coaches
I didn't do it.
coaches take things personal. And
Yeah.
they think that I care. This is another game, coach.
Right.
You're calling it terrible. Okay, I'm consistently terrible. You want a consistency? What's the problem? That coach down there thinks I'm terrible too, so I'm consistent. So pick your battles. You say you want us to be consistent. I'm consistently terrible. Now you got a problem with it. I mean, you're killing me here, coach.
Well, my thing is
Exactly.
when if I would like to tell coaches, when your players play consistently, we can call a consistent game.
Yeah.
But if your players
Yes.
go in at halftime, like they're drilling a team, they go in at halftime and they come back out and can't
Stop
shoot.
playing.
Yeah, just stop playing. Can't shoot a shot.
Then it's our fault.
How's
Right,
that my fault?
exactly. Or
That's-
I can't. You had 7 fouls and they have 1. Like
Yeah.
I'm not.
Tell them to stop hitting people.
I'm not hitting them.
Now,
Exactly.
Now let me ask you this: in your day when you reffed, was it the things
was
that,
it?
Yeah, thank you. The things that I tell people, the things we can't control. You tell them if it's still match in your day.
Okay.
We can't control. We have nothing to do with turnovers.
Right.
We have nothing to do with missed shots, including bunnies, cribs, layups, whatever you want to call them. And we have nothing to do with free throws. But yet a team will lose a game by 6. They had 14 turnovers, 10 free throws missed, probably 37 missed shots. And it's our fault they lost.
And you ruined the game for them.
I ruined the
By
game.
that one call
Yeah. So
or the one not call.
yeah,
Because
but somebody told me basketball is a close proximity sport. It's very, very highly emotional, and it's a contact sport. I was like, you're right. He says so. In that instance, people don't think, including coaches.
Right.
They just think it's highly very emotional, and there's contact, and you didn't give us what we wanted, so it's your fault.
And it's so weird because it is high contact. It is and it's fast,
Yes,
right? I mean,
very, very
again, you're
fast.
not
Right.
going, I can make this call in the next 5 seconds.
Right.
But it's amazing how accurate officials get it.
Yes.
Because it's not that hard. If you're
Right.
watching where you're supposed to be watching, hopefully your partner is, you can get it.
Right.
But it's not
And nowadays
It's
we
not
have a
that
lot
hard.
more game film that we can go to. I mean, everybody's got the game
Right.
recorded. So I know that coach we were just talking about that didn't want us back, I called a call on one of her players, and it was a travel. The girl was in the corner. She hit the 3, but I was at the center spot.
She hit the 3,
traveled.
but he took it away from
Yeah,
her.
I took her
called it
because she
travel.
traveled. Now, I went back and watched it. She did travel. A lot of officials said, well, I wouldn't have called it. Okay, but
travel's
that's
a
not
travel.
the point. The point is I chose to call it. I could have ignored it, but I did. So I'm like, the coach is coming unglued, but it's clearly a travel.
Right.
Yeah, but nobody else calls that. I did.
Yeah.
It's a travel. So that's a choice. So should I call it down low? Your girl is guarding the big, and the big caught the ball, and she hopped before she took the ball, and she turns around, and she shoots the shot, and she scored on your big. Should we have called that travel? I mean, it's a
Right.
judgment call.
Yeah.
And I thought the girl got the ball, she hopped, And then that's why she hit the 3, because if I let her get away with it, she would, okay, well, I call. So I get it. You didn't have to call it. I get it. But if it had been against the other team, you wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Right.
Right.
You would have been yelling at me to call
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if you ever, I mean, you don't have enough time to go, should I call this one? Shouldn't I call this
You
one?
either call or you
right.
don't.
I'm blowing my whistle because of the thing, the
Right.
violation happened,
Right.
whatever.
And
So-
if they study us as officials, which they don't, they know I'm known for calling that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I call
Yeah.
a lot of ball handling stuff. Carry
Mhm.
dribble, travels. The boys do that Euro step.
Yeah.
I'm cool with it unless they drag their pivot foot. They
Right.
drag their pivot, I'm going to call. Crane that. Coach, watch the game film. He drug his pivot. That's a travel. Yeah, but nobody calls it. Not the point. The point is he traveled.
It's a rule, and they broke the rule. That's
Yeah.
why I'm here. That's
Well,
awesome.
you got any, we're going to, before we close out, you got any last items that you wanted to share with us about?
Well, the only thing I would say to you both is I'm so thankful for what you're doing, because I think you are making officials better. And I think that is important. Like, honestly, when there were guys refereeing when I officiated that had no business being on the court. So, like, the good side of either assigners, but certainly the great side of what you're doing is awesome, because you want people to be good
Right.
at what we are trying to do, and the level of training and what you are offering didn't exist. Like, we went to a meeting
Right.
and talked about a ruled thing that happened last week, but nobody was showing. I mean, you had to travel to go to some official school. So
Yeah.
I think Fort Wayne is better for what you guys are doing, and
Well, thank
where
you.
even if you go to Hawaii and do it, Hawaii's better for you because you're doing it.
Well, we talked about it. It'd be nice if we could set that up annually.
Yes.
And take deserving officials or send
Oh, yeah.
deserving
They come
officials.
through the class. Yeah.
We've talked
that
about
would be great. Do you see an increase in people going through your class? Is it growing? Is it?
Well,
Do
we've
you
done
get
it.
good response?
We've done it for 11 years, and I would say, it's grown. It's come a long way, and we're looking at doing some online things to make it a broader reach.
For sure.
But we have a lot of people that have come through the class that have been our main cheerleaders because they love what they've gotten out of it. One was a returnee. You probably remember him, Ricky Jordan. I think he was on last week.
Okay.
Ricky Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Ricky was into it. Then he got out of it for whatever reason. And when he came back, he came through our class. And Ricky's always telling people, go through the herds.
That's
go through
awesome.
The herds. And then we have another guy, Tom Torson. He was
Yeah.
our second person on the podcast. And Tom has been a major cheerleader.
Yeah. Tom has come through the class 3 times.
Yes.
So
and brought
he-
people with him
yeah.
every time.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
he's like, oh, when's the next one? Because I'm coming.
Yeah.
That is
know.
so good.
But
So-
what tells me that it's really needed is a comment I made earlier. We'll be on the court. Somebody comes up to us, didn't go through the class, and then can you help me out? And I'm going, and in my mind, I'm not saying, but I'm thinking, okay, what we're doing is needed because they see now that they're behind the whistle, there's a lot of things they don't know, and they would have gotten them through the class.
For sure.
Right.
And then I think when areas get reputations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And people get reputations,
Yeah.
and so to be able to go, hey, we're making this area, part of the state better is awesome.
That's what
Is
we're
awesome.
working for.
So, yeah.
So we appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Guys. It's awesome.
Appreciate
Thanks
you
for coming
coming on
on.
the show.
So much fun to
Appreciate
hang out with you
Oh,
guys.
we couldn't wait to have you. I'm so glad you were able
Thanks
to
for
make it.
having me.
I'm
Means
glad
a
you
lot.
came back from Aruba.
Yes, me too. It was hard, but we did.
So how long you guys went on vacation in Aruba? How long were
We
you
did. We went for a full week.
there? Okay.
So yeah. So
Where is Aruba?
it's one of the Caribbean islands.
Someplace you need to
Yeah.
take me.
For sure.
I don't know why I asked
For
that. I kind of
sure.
knew that was coming. Anyway, so you guys when's the last time you've been on vacation?
So Parkwood, my husband was diagnosed with cancer 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And when he was diagnosed, our kids sent us away for a few days, which is great.
Mhm.
And then he was he got COVID complicated with his cancer a year ago, very critical. And so when he survived that, we were like, we need to go on vacation. Well, his job and all the thing, my job. So finally, this was like our first break away
Okay.
since he was so sick. So it was a real gift. It was a real
Excellent.
gift for us.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent.
Loved it.
Cool. All right. Well,
right.
thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Really
guys.
appreciate you having.
Thanks,
You
Sammy.
really appreciate you allowing us to have you.
Well, thanks for the
Absolutely.
invitation. It means a lot. I really am thankful for you
Quite
guys.
welcome.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Take care.
Take care.
Thanks again for listening to Ref Time, powered by reftrainingschool.com and Hoosier3on3.com. Produced by Coraggio Media, Ref Time is recorded in WELT Studios in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne, Indiana.
To join RTS, visit reftrainingschool.com. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Until next time.